as Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka unveils his candidature for the December 15th Msambweni by-election. And limping tourism industry owing to COVID-19 pandemic. This as the world marks the International Day Sunday. My name is Purity Museo and Byron Abuli is a sign language interpreter tonight. My guests are Patrick Mwangi, who is the head teacher, State House Primary School, and Benjamin Zulu, who is a psychologist, to just help us understand the preparedness of both pupils and all the learners and parents for the reopening of schools, even as the Response Committee on Education suggests that schools reopen next month. Let's begin the broadcast. And doctors are warning the data from the Ministry of Health on COVID-19 is not a representative of the true infection rate, as the testing levels remain low. The doctors under the Kenya Medical Association are calling for a cautious reopening of the economy to avoid a second wave of infection. There's even as calls mount for the gradual reopening of schools, with teachers expected to report back to school beginning tomorrow. Caroline Kamau begins our broadcast.
To open or not to open the economy is the question the head of state is grappling with ahead of Monday, when teachers are expected to report back to school to prepare for the resumption of learning. And as the country awaits communication from the government on the reopening date, the Kenya Medical Association is calling for an evidence-based approach in determining when to reopen the economy. The medics are warning the testing levels in the country are very low, making it difficult to draw an actual picture of the COVID-19 situation in the country.
We are continuing to see low levels of testing in the country, and initially we used to have mass testing. Now it has moved to targeted testing of only the symptomatic patients, and this information that we're being given by the Ministry of Health is not enough to provide us with accurate data that you can use to inform the opening of the country. So we like to urge the government to ramp up its testing, to consider screening using the antibody test, so that you can have a clear indication where we stand as a country as far as COVID is concerned.
The body is, however, supportive of a gradual reopening of the economy, emphasizing on the need to equip the health sector in case of a surge in transmission when government eases restrictions.
On healthcare workers' protection, it has continued to be an issue. As we speak now, we still have healthcare workers who do not have access to quality PPEs in many of our counties. And 7 months down the line and you're still facing this problem is something that leaves a lot to be desired. So we like to...
At the same time, they're calling for stringent measures to ensure safety of learners.
Kati COVID-19 ilipokuja nchini, nchi ilifungwa ili wanadau wote waweze kuweka mikakati ambayo itasaidia kufungua uchumi tena. Mashule pia yalifungwa ili kwa wakati huo watoto wasiambukizane, na shule zenyewe zilihitajika kuweka mikakati ya kurudi shule. Ingekuwa vizuri ya kuwa na tuseme zahanati kidogo ndani ya mashule, kuwe na daktari, kuwe na muuguzi, kuwe na watu ambao wanaangalia afya, hata wale wanaitwa public health, kuangalia afya ya shule. Ni vizuri bodi za mashule ziweke hiyo mikakati, na ndio maana tunasema hata kama ni Oktoba, hata kama ni Januari, hiyo mikakati ndio inafaa kuwa imewekwa.
And as the doctors urge for caution in Kilifi County, the management of Ngala Memorial Girls Secondary School is preparing to receive learners in line with the COVID-19 safety protocols. The school's principal, Elizabeth John, says they are in the process of constructing a new dormitory that is expected to accommodate 150 students to ensure social distancing.
First reopening, I mean, we can have our candidate class first, and maybe after 2 weeks, because I know that once these students are in school, they are safe. So after maybe 2 weeks or a month, then we can have the other class coming in. Maybe after a month or so, then we can have the other. Just gradual opening is better. Yeah.
There's also a sanitarium within the compound, which will be used as an isolation center in case students exhibit coronavirus-like symptoms. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News Hour.
Moving on, the inaugural national conference, COVID-19 conference, is set to be held on Monday in Nairobi amid heightened expectations from Kenyans. Last-minute preparations were ongoing at the venue, even as a section of Kenyans called on the government to ease the restrictions to jumpstart the economy. However, some Kenyans remain cagey on the proposals to reopen schools. Safina Cheng Oma with the details.
The stage is now set for the National COVID-19 Conference, scheduled for Monday, the 28th of September 2020. It will be the first national conversation the country is having since the first case of coronavirus was reported in March this year. This was the situation at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where the meeting is set to take place. Last-minute preparations to ensure the hall could accommodate stakeholders from across board in conformity with the COVID-19 social distancing rules. The meeting, convened by the National Emergency Response Committee on Coronavirus, is expected to review the national and county government's response to the pandemic and chart a way forward post-COVID-19. And with the clock ticking to the meeting, a section of Kenyans want stakeholders to consider reopening the economy.
Biashara zote zimeenda chini, sisi wote tunatafuta huku na pale na hapa na tunakosa.
Hii condition imeaffect watu wengi. Kwa mfano, imeaffect uchumi, imeaffect sisi, imeaffect kazi hakuna, watu hata transport.
Watu kama mimi sasa siwezi kulipa gari, natembea 12 kilometers every day. That is 24 kilometers a day. I'm always covering.
They are calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta to also consider lifting some of the containment measures and allow what they term as a return to normalcy.
Ato hizo condition mingi hizo as we were, because it doesn't make any sense. Maski watu wanatoa wanaweka hivi. Ati what are you trying to tell us? So tushaona magonjwa mingi, ukimwi, malaria, sijui nini.
Afungue nchi, kila mtu afanye biashara lake, si wanasiasa wapige siasa lao, pesa itembee, tukule, ja tuna njaa.
Opinion also remains divided over whether the government should give a green light for learners to return to school.
Rais angefaa kwanza afungue nchi, mambo ya shule kwanza awache kwanza, wazazi wajipange na kila kitu, because itakuwa tena ni mzigo kwetu kama wazazi. Shule kifunguliwa saa hii, itabidi gharama pia sisi tutakuwa tunagharamia mambo mengi. Ya social distance itakuwa, uniform watoto wamekula zaidi, wameongeza weight, itabidi unavaa viatu, mtoto atakwambia kiatu iko wapi wala wapi.
Kazi watu wamekosa, wamekaa hawana sana, wamekaa na watoto watoa pesa ya kupelekea watoto shule. Sasa mimi ningependa wangefunguliwa January, ni watu wakuwa wamejipanga, ndio watoto waende shule.
Si kazi after uchumi kufunguliwa na rais, kazi zitarudi. Kazi hazitakuwa zimefungwa maishani. Kazi zitarudi, tutalipa fees vile tulikuwa tunalipa. Maneno ya kusema mtoto afunguliwe next year, we are wrong through so many kids hawatarudi shuleni.
The conference comes ahead of the 12th Presidential National Address on COVID-19, which is slated for Tuesday, the 29th. For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Oma.
A lot of expectations from Kenyans ahead of the COVID-19 conference tomorrow, and especially majority of Kenyans feel like the economy should be opened, and we ask you whether the head of state should lift the restrictions, the COVID-19 prevention restrictions, which include the 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, the social distancing, and of course the closure of the entertainment joints. Tell us whether you agree or whether you feel that should happen tomorrow, and what your expectations are ahead of that conference at Purity_Museo at KBC Channel 1 News. Also tonight, we speak matters reopening of schools. Remember again, the Education COVID-19 Response Committee suggests that schools should open in October, and from tomorrow, the 28th of September, then teachers are expected, they were directed to begin going back to school to prepare for the gradual opening. So tell us your view on that as well. That will be our discussion tonight on Family Matters, and the hashtag to use is Family Matters KBC. KBC. Away from the COVID-19 update, Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba has been ranked as the best performing legislator in the parliament according to the latest survey by Infotrack research firm at 75.4%. His Emurua Dikir counterpart Johanna Ngeno was second at 71.4%. Taveta MP Naomi Shaban Kitui West Edith Nyenze and their Samburu West counterpart Naisula Lesuda of Samburu West led the list of top 10 women voted by the constituency as having fulfilled their mandate. The poll also indicates that performance of the 11th parliament was relatively poorly compared to the 10th parliament.
A new poll conducted in November and December 2019, as well as January 2020, has ranked the current parliament as having performed below average compared to the 10th parliament.
The study that we've done in 2019-2020 has shown that we as Kenyans feel that our elected leaders have performed worse or poorer than they did in the last cycle, that is between 2013 and 2017. And this is across the board, so overall across all the 8 regions, which are the former provinces, we see a drop in the consolidated performance of the members of parliament by almost 7 points.
The survey dubbed County Track Elected Leaders Population Index by Infotrack research firm sought to capture the sentiments of Kenyans on issues revolving around leadership at constituencies in the 47 counties.
In the case of the performance rating, only one question was asked of the respondents, who are the constituents, and that was to rank the overall performance of their elected leaders since the election in 2017. This being midterm, what experience has shown us is that the electorate uses very different ways to determine what it is they feel is good performance of their elected leadership.
In the report, Emuhaya MP Omboko Milemba leads the list of top 10 MPs, having delivered at 75.4%. Others in the list of top 5 are Johanna Ngeno of Emurua Dikir at 71.4%, Mwala MP Vincent Musyoka at 70.8%, Patrick Musimba of Kibwezi West at 69.8%, in Pokot South David Kosing at 68.2%. Naomi Shaban, Edith Nyenze, Naisula Lesuda, Mary Wamaua and Aisha Jumwa topped the list of women MPs whose constituents are satisfied with their style of leadership and delivery. The survey also ranks Butere MP Tindimwale and Chuka Igambangombe MP Patrick Munene as the best performing youthful legislators in the current parliament. At the tail end of the list, at position 290, is Isiolo South MP Abdi Tepo, who scored 33%. Clement Kigano of Kangema and Francis Kimani Formolo have also been rated as having performed dismally at position 289 and 288 with 36.3% and 37% respectively. The respondents were drawn from all the 290 constituencies in the country and were asked to gauge their performances of their leaders on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 signifies poor performance, while 10 implies excellent delivery. For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
And Deputy President William Ruto has told of those criticizing his style of helping the struggling youth through donations, terming them enemies of development. Ruto said first, the priority for any elected leader was to uplift the lives of the electorate struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, the Wiper Party has unveiled Sheikh Abdurrahman Muhammad as its candidate for Msambweni parliamentary by-election scheduled for December 15th.
Watajua hawajui. Watajua.
Deputy President William Ruto was in Bungoma County to popularize his 2022 presidential bid, where debate on dissolution of parliament and issuance of Huduma number card took center stage.
Mimi nataka niwaombe tuheshimiane. Tutembee polepole, hatutaki matusi, hatutaki madharau, hatutaki vitisho. Kwani mnatutisha nyinyi ni nani? Ati wanatutisha ati wako na deep state, ati sijui wako na system, ati sijui wako na godfather. Sisi tunawaambia nyinyi, Sisi ndio wa Kenya, the hustler nation.
MPs accompanying the deputy president called on the president to dissolve the parliament so that they can seek a fresh mandate from the people.
Avunje bunge, wabunge waende nyumbani. Na ninataka niseme kuwa rais afuate katiba. Sinamraya avunje hii bunge, turudi nyumbani. Na akivunja hii bunge, seneti inavunjwa. Na hata rais tunataka hata yeye mwenyewe.
The lawmakers also questioned the utilization of the biodata the government collected from Kenyans during the issuance of Huduma Number, some claiming there was a sinister motive to use the data to tamper the 2022 general elections.
Na tumeambiwa wako wakora ambao wanakaa huko Runda. Hao ndio wanafanya falsify ile data ambayo itawekwa kwa Huduma Number, na mimi nataka kuambia serikali ya Kenya kwamba hao ni wakora. Anybody mwenye anafanya kitu kwa kutofuata sheria ya nchi ambayo imewekwa, hao ni wahalifu, wakamatwe, washikwe, wapelekwe mahakamani.
Tunajua na iko wazi kwamba kuna watu 11 ambao wako kule Runda. Na hawa watu ndio wanataka kutapeli mambo ya nchi hii ya Kenya kupitia maneno ya Huduma Number. Kwanza rais, kabla wananchi wa Kenya hawajasajiliwa mara ya pili, tunataka usajili wa mara ya kwanza uwekwe wazi, tujue ile usajili ya ile ya kwanza ni nini kilikuwa ndani, na zile vyeti mlikuwa mnasema mtatupa wananchi wapewe, ndiposa tuende mwelekeo wa kusajiliwa mara ya pili.
Sasa mumetoa sasa katika ministry ambayo inahusika na registration, mumepeleka NIS, mumepeleka katika jeshi. Mahali kuna kisa, mahali huwezi uliza. Kama mjana mlishindwa kutembea, mkatuonyesha ukweli. Sasa katika hiyo kisa, ni nini mnataka kufanyia Wakenya?
Elsewhere, Wiper Party has unveiled Sheikh Abdurrahman Mahmoud as their candidate in the forthcoming Msambweni by-election, slated for December 15th. Addressing the media in Ukunda Township after attending a church at Redeemed Gospel Church in Diani, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka dismissed ODM's claim of a sure win, saying it will be a duel and not a walk in the park.
Mambo ya Gome hapa, it's a free society. I think they had their reasons. We respect their reasons, we respect their decision. As a matter of fact, we asked Jubilee to support our candidate if they don't have a candidate.
Meanwhile, Narok County MP Soipan Kudate is urging President Uhuru Kenyatta to heed to the Chief Justice's advice and dissolve Parliament. Speaking at Suswa during the Masai Ilmemiri age group celebration, Kudate said there was need to uphold the constitution.
Ninaiunga mkono advisory ambayo imetolewa na Chief Justice Maraga. Maraga amesema bunge lifunjwe kwa sababu ya Kenya kukataa kuheshimu haki za akina mama wa Narok County, haki za akina mama wa Kenya mzima.
And Kongamano la Mageuzi movement has been launched today. The voluntary coalition of diverse Kenyans, united as a progressive alliance, are of the opinion that there is need to be a radical transformation of the country's political leadership and governance. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Kenya, tutekeleze Kongamano la Mageuzi.
A weekend of politics it was. The country's COVID-19 fatality rate has inched closer to the 700 mark after 2 more people succumbed to the virus, bringing the national tally to 691 deaths. The latest data by the Minister of Health also indicates a slight increase in the infection rate after 244 people tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 3,707. Emily Kebade with the latest statistics by the government.
After 7 months of fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, the country continues to record new cases of the virus. The latest data by government shows a slight increase in the infection rate in the last 2 days. The latest figures put the infection rate at 244 out of a sample size of 3,707. This now brings the total number of infections since the first case was recorded in March to 38,115. Cumulatively, Kenya has so far tested 540,308 people. From the 244 new infections, 16 of those infected are foreigners, while 228 are Kenyans. 157 are male and 87 females, with the youngest being a 3-month-old infant, while the oldest is 85 years. Over the last 24 hours, Nairobi led with the highest number of infections at 63, while Nakuru came in second with 58 cases. Kisii came in third with 23, followed by Garissa 16, Kisumu 14, Mombasa 13, Kiambu 10, Busia 9, Trans Nzoia 7, Turkana 6, Kajiado and Kericho 5. Uasin-Gishu, Narok, Laikipia, Siaya recorded 2 cases each, while Kakamega, Marsabit, Bungoma, Meru, Moranga, Nyeri and Tharaka Nithi have 1 case each. At the same time, 40 people have recovered from the deadly disease, 30 from the home-based care program, and 10 discharged from various hospitals, bringing the total recoveries to 24,621. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
And over 40 children from Zion Children's Home in Kasarani were forced to spend the night in the rain after they were kicked out of their home, allegedly over rent arrears. Separately, a daycare center in Kawangware is facing imminent closure owing to rent arrears. Beatrice Gatonye with details of the pleas for assistance as the effects of COVID-19 continue to take a toll on institutions.
These were the scenes in Kasarani at Zion Children's Home. The nearly 40 children now left homeless. The homeowners desperately attempting to protect the children's belongings from the rains. Their belongings strewn on the street. The former home now a shell, and the signage pulled down. According to the children's home management, the landlord stormed the home early in the morning with armed goons who proceeded to pull out the windows and doors of the home and removed all their belongings. The founder of the home, however, says they have no rent arrears as alleged, accusing the landlord of plotting to sell the property at a cost of 10 million shillings, which they could not afford.
Wamekuja huku wakang'oa milango, wakatoa vitu zetu zote na wametupa nje. Tumejaribu kuongea na polisi tuone venye watatusaidia. They had nothing to do and they had nothing to show kama ni kitu legal ya kusema they are evicting us. Na sisi hatuna deni yoyote na hawa watu.
Ni watoto wengi na kuna wale watoto wadogo hata sijui leo watalala wapi, manake vitanda zao zote ziko hapa, nguo zao ziko hapa, wakioga watakula watafaa nini, vitu zao zote zinaharibikia hapa.
Saka watoto wengine tulianza nao wakiwa 3 days, wengine 7 days, sasa ndio wamegrow. Sasa mseka huyu tukaweza funga children's home, ataenda wapi? Ajui watu wao wengine. So
they are now calling on well-wishers to come to their aid and shelter the children who have nowhere else to turn to.
Sasa hatuna mahali ya kwenda vitu, lakini watoto tuliondoka tutafute mahali ya kukaa for the safer place for the time being. So we are appealing for the well-wishers so they can chip in and to support us because we deal with the well-wishers. Yeah.
Hii ni kitu ambacho tunapika kama sisi wakaaji wa hunters na tunasema hii si haki na hii si jambo ambalo ni mzuri, na kama mtu akona moyo wa utu ndani yake na akona uugu agetafuta solution. Watu wanakaaga chini, mnaongea, lakini si kuamkia nyumba unabomoa na hujui watoto wadogo watalala wapi na wataenda wapi na watakuliwa wapi, na saa hii kuna nyesa kwenye watalala haijulikani ni wapi.
Separately, this is the situation in Kawangware. A social health worker who invested all her savings to set up a daycare center for children is on the brink of losing everything. Pauline Apondi says the doors to the daycare could be permanently shut owing to rent arrears.
Just anytime I collect anything, be it after a week or two, that's how I send. So that's how I've been paying, but the bill is still piling. So for them, you know, they always come here. They find me sometimes even just alone, no kids, but I'm always here, Monday to Saturday, just doing nothing. If the kids are not there, I'm just alone. Many a times they come, they find 2. So even to them, it scared them because they're saying, no, this one can't pay our house. So they've been telling me, if you know you are not going to afford to pay, just leave for us the house. But I could not just quit that easily.
Her dream of caring for children slowly dwindling, with only 2 children left in her care owing to the pandemic.
Every month, we're just praying that maybe starting new month, things will open up. But it has been like that. We've been straining. The few ones that come, like a kid or 2, that is what we collect to pay for the dues. But it has never been enough. Even the little savings I had gotten from the first one, all were consumed. Because all these months you are there, it's now 6 months, paying all these, and there's nothing coming in. No income at all.
She is calling on well-wishers to come to her aid to assist her in keeping the doors of the daycare open. At the same time, she is calling on the government to reopen the economy to ensure livelihoods are not lost. Beatrice Gatonyingetich, Channel 1 News.
And due to the financial burden occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a lot of feedback coming in, especially on your expectations for the COVID-19 conference that is scheduled for tomorrow. And Harrington Jenga, you're saying you're watching from Kakamega and schools should be reopened like yesterday. We are tired of staying at home as teachers. You are a teacher. Thank you so much for that. We also had someone, Alexander, you're saying that government should open schools for all classes. We've had cases of COVID-19 in prisons. That means that it could affect anybody. Okay, thank you for that. Then we also had another one who is saying that Emmanuel Makoha saying that we should, the economy should be reopened. We cannot cover our mouth while the money is being stolen. Okay, thank you so much. Keep tweeting and talking to us. Use the hashtag #TonightFamilyMattersKBC. And tonight we are asking whether you agree or whether you think schools should be reopened, and not just schools, but also the conversation that will be going on tomorrow during this conference. What are your expectations at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News? The first test run for a passenger train from Nairobi to Nanyuki was carried out over the weekend, signaling a resumption of train transport in the region. The move is expected to further open the economy. The move is expected to further open the economy as tourists ride the train while enjoying the scenery.
Those aboard the train expressed satisfaction at the resumption of railway transport from Nairobi to Nanyuki. Laikipia Governor Muriithi Nderito said railway transport is set to improve the region's economy and the tourism sector.
We are quite ready to receive and host Kenyans, and we are obviously very happy indeed when they do visit, and there's so much to see, so much to do in Nanyuki and its environs.
He says they're hoping to improve tourism as the equator is situated in the county. The governor says the region is best situated for mountain climbing, cycling and safari, noting that Laikipia is one of the counties with a majority of wildlife sanctuaries that host the Big Five, the few remaining northern white rhinos, chimpanzee and even the Black Panther. The governor said that his administration is looking forward to receiving investors who would like to venture into the different businesses that will be enabled by the railway.
We also have expectations in terms of the very nascent mining sector in Laikipia and Samburu and Isiolo. For instance, I'm sure you know, Kenya exports manganese from Samburu. Previously it was being tracked all the way to the river, so we would expect that now that the train is nearer, that then it will be loaded here.
Those aboard the train appreciated the government's move to rehabilitate the railway line, noting that it is one of the safest modes of transport and is affordable.
And I wish local tourists, the local tourism industry, the locals should actually embrace this idea that you not only need to do the road, you also have the rail. It is very accommodative. It is taking along human and livestock traffic.
It is now expected that Kenya Railway will roll out a schedule for the passenger train to Nanyuki to allow those willing to sample the meter gauge railway to visit the county. Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Channel 1 News.
Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala is calling on counties to establish products that will be utilized by local and international tourists while marking World Tourism Day themed tourism and rural development, which is marked every 27th of September. Balala also hailed Kenyans for supporting local tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, hoteliers in Trans Nzoia County have launched an ambitious initiative to promote local tourism in a recovery effort after COVID-19 pandemic.
The Kitoom Cave, one of the National Historic Site hoteliers in Trans Nzoia County. Hoteliers are here to launch an ambitious initiative to promote local tourism in a recovery effort after COVID-19 pandemic. The move is expected to trigger visitation at Mount Elgon National Park that has been underutilized by locals. The efforts by the hoteliers is set to open the park and showcase the magic wildlife and tourism opportunities at the facility. Chairman Trans Nzoia County Tourism Association, Engineer Kamau Hinga, say the partnership with the park management is set to boost local tourism in the region and open the park to the world.
We want to assemble together as members of hotels, come up with packages, and build up the circuit, what we are calling the Western Circuit.
The only thing that we would like to request the county government to come and let us work together so that we promote tourism in this county.
So what we want to do is partner with different stakeholders in the tourist industry so that we can bring business to Trans Nzoia. We can open up the markets in Trans Nzoia.
Mount Elgon is a very safe place for the visitors to visit.
The facelift coinciding with the World Tourism Day, which is celebrated every 27th of September across the world. And as Kenya joins the world in celebrating the auspicious day, themed tourism and rural development, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has hailed the role played by Kenyans in promoting domestic tourism during the COVID-19 period.
But I want to thank Kenyans for coming out and traveling and supporting the tourism economy. Every traveler opens up a new job for our people.
Balala also called upon county governments to establish products that will attract both local and international tourists to help create job opportunities.
It is important for us to create jobs, and we want to create jobs all over the country by developing tourism throughout our counties.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
And still on the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism sector, Mombasa County is one of the counties that prides itself in its thriving tourism sector. So when we return, the county boss, Hassan Joho, will be speaking exclusively to O'Brien Kimani on what the impact has been and how it's being revived. Only on Channel 1 News. Stay with us. We're taking our first commercial break. Don't go too far.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Let's go.
Pilar. Oh. Ismail.
Ignacia?
My grandchildren. Javier. Javier! Someone help!
Excuse me. Who is this trying to call me with his gadget? Please, before you call me Professor Ouma, you should have a telecommunicative device. My friend, we professors, we do not walk, we locomote. We do not drive problem boxes, yani probox.
To get Professor, bonyeza star 811 star 759 hash. Dial star 811 star 759 hash.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Channel 1 Weekend, and global tourism business is expected to drop by between 60 to 80% this year due to the effects of the pandemic. According to the United Nations Travel and Hospital Industry, it will be the hardest hit as more people stay at home. Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho says revenue collection at the coastal county is expected to drop by more than 50% due to the closure of businesses. Brian Kimani had a sit down with him on the state of tourism in the coastal town as the country marks the World Tourism Day. Here is that conversation.
Oh, thank you so very much indeed for joining us. First of all, I want to hear from you. I mean, since the country started instituting measures, towards trying to curb the spread of coronavirus, almost 6 months down the line, how has the county been impacted by this?
First of all, we have suffered severely on matters economy. We are a hospitality economy or service economy, as you may call it, and Corona affected people. Borders were closed, institutions shut down, hotels shut down, restaurants closed, and other facilities that are in support of the industry also shut down. So for a while now, as a destination, we have really struggled, and the losses are immense, and that is why we need to think without the box of what needs to be done going forward. So if we were to quantify the losses, probably after we can confidently report that we are done completely with COVID, we believe it's really huge losses. And therefore, because we depended a lot on tourism, the numbers across the world, and till to this point we have borders that haven't allowed citizens to fly into the country or outside the country. So we have struggled and we continue to struggle, but we're looking forward now for reopening of the economy and basically supporting the industry to come back to its feet.
And even before the pandemic, I mean, the sector was also suffering. I mean, we had the 2017 election disputes, where we had, some pockets of violence in the country. And then thereafter, there was a terror attack, at Lamu that somehow, threw the industry into disarray. And then there was coronavirus. And the question is this, I mean, how badly can the situation get, when you combine the three factors?
Let me tell you something. As a matter of fact, we had seen a kind of trajectory in the industry that was somehow sustainable. We had seen a systematic growth in terms of numbers, and even standards of the product had started improving. So yes, we may have suffered quite a bit of challenges before that time, but then we had started to pick up. Until now, we're hit by COVID-19, and then everything completely shut down all of a sudden. Unprecedented kind of disease that we've had to deal with, and then issues of the mindset of the people and all the challenges. But here we are today. Mombasa is reporting cases that is under 3%. They say when your can confidently say that you're flattening the curve, you're looking at 5% and under. So today we're at 3%. Hopefully within a very short period of time, we shall be at 0%.
As a county, as a region that relies heavily on the tourism industry, what kind of a master plan, what kind of a plan going forward are you recommending to the national government?
I think the mistake that we had done earlier is to have specific focus on kind of destinations that has been what we call traditional destinations or traditional business, that we have people just coming in from specific countries. We need to come out of that cocoon, think without the box and find ways to be able to tap into new market. And then for me, what I think needs to happen, we need to find people that have the ability to spend money. So we also have to focus on the quality of tourism, the quality of tourists that we want to attract into Kenya, so that we have people with the ability to spend money when they visit our country, largely. So for me, we need to take a very pragmatic approach. We look at successes elsewhere, but we have to have a plan. Failing to plan is planning to fail, and therefore we need to have a plan that is accommodative, that is inclusive. We have the private players, we have the government. What we can do, we need to relook entirely on our policy issues, whether they're supportive in whatever we are doing now, or we need to realign to create policies that will support businesses and growth.
What is this likely, or what is the likely impact on, number one, the economic growth of the county, and number two, on revenue generation and job distribution as well?
So before COVID-19, we had seen an increment on our revenue base. We had projected this year we'll be probably targeting around 5 billion shillings in terms of revenue collection. But in 2013 we were $1 billion. By last fiscal year we had pushed that to 3.7 billion, and we had seen a steady increment. So we had anticipated we would be able to do 5 billion this financial year. But as we sit today, I think we'll be with a huge shortfall on our target for obvious reasons. But I believe the potential is big, and after we're back on track, business resumes or normalcy resumes, we should be able to see growth. For example, if you look at the port-related business, Mombasa Port is now almost clocking 35 million tons. A few years ago it was 23, 24 million tons. So there is growth. And therefore that's why I'm saying largely we need to look at policy issues that can be supportive and in diversifying the economy. We're looking at SEZ, we're looking at FTZ. That has significant policy considerations at the national level, even though most of these projects are domiciled in counties. But it has to come from a national conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian Kimani, for that report one-on-one with the Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho on how he plans to revive this economy if this pandemic ends, and of course saying that failing to plan is planning to fail. Elsewhere, crossed eyes or squints are a condition in which the eyes are misaligned and is one of the causes of visual impairment among children. 6-year-old Lucky was diagnosed with this condition, which doctors say, if left untreated, can lead to blindness. Mariambo has details of his battle with the eye condition.
6-year-old Lucky had a very difficult childbirth, a fact his mother Anno Butu believes could be the reason for his very many health problems, including developing a squint in his right eye.
Nilibeba for long. Ndio mtoto akaenda choka pupu kwa tumbo kakula uchafu, nikakimbishwa dieta, pelekwa dieta, mtoto akatolewa kuwa anapumua, hata kulia immediately, akapelekwa nursery, akakaa ICU for 3 days. Alikuwa amepewa 72 hours kama atasurvive. huko Kenyatta, lakini alisurvive. Akakaa nasari mwezi mzima, akapata meningitis, lakini alitibiwa ikapona. Sasa nadhani hiyo shida yake ilitoka kwa sababu alianza kuconverse akiwa na 10 months. Nikaambiwa ameaffectiwa side moja ya right, sababu mkono yake ya right iko weak, iwezi shika kitu.
Convulsions and things could have affected his right eye that became sensitive to light.
Niligundua wakati nilikuwa nikimpiga hizi mapicha nikitumia hii picha, yani smartphone, nikimpiga ikiwa na light. Ukiangalia hiyo picha unaona macho imeenda kando. Tena sometimes nikagundua akienda nje mahali kuna jua kucheza, anapendi kufungua macho, unapata anafunga jicho moja ya right.
Several unsuccessful visits to doctors led her to an eye specialist at the Lions Eye First Hospital in Nairobi. It is here that I met them on the day that Lucky was scheduled for a corrective eye surgery. Dr. Ambijit Rasal is a pediatric ophthalmologist specializing in squint surgeries.
Now, when he came first, the first protocol is that we have to evaluate whether his eyes is functionally well or not. So, he sees still properly, but with both eyes open. As soon as you close the better eye, he will start fumbling. So he's not able to see. That diagnosis is also important.
Eye movement is controlled by 6 muscles, all working together to control where the eyes are looking. Some pull the eye up or down, some pull to the left or right, and some work to rotate the eyes when the head is not straight. When both eyes are working correctly and pointing in the same direction, each sends a signal to the brain, and the images from both eyes are combined to make one 3-dimensional view. If the eyes are pointing in different directions due to strabismus, each eye will detect a different image, and the brain may have trouble fusing those 2 different images into one 3-dimensional view. If this is allowed to continue, the child may never develop good depth perception and may lose sight permanently in the misaligned eye. So how does this problem affect the quality of life?
You cannot become a doctor like in terms of pathologist. Okay, you can't go into army. So it definitely affects your complete behavior, complete development as a human being. So binocular vision and 3D vision is the most important that you have to restore as early as possible.
Treatment options depend on the type and severity of the strabismus. For many patients, surgery is necessary to adjust the eye muscles and straighten the eyes.
The position of the eye, which should be like this, is like this in the case which we are discussing. That means this is more acting and this is less acting. So when we are doing squint surgery, we are not doing anything inside the eye or intraocularly. We are just tackling the muscles which are controlling the movements of the eye. So what I will do in this case, I will weak this muscle and I will strengthen this muscle. But that has to be in proportionate.
After the surgery, the baby is going to improve or the squint will mean?
What I can assure you, 85 to 90% success with the one-eye surgery.
Yes.
The rest 5 to 10% success depends upon why I'm not giving you 100% success surgery, because nobody will give you that the patient will have a 100% success surgery.
Yes.
In the operating room, Lucky is put to sleep using a general anesthesia. So right now, baby Lucky is actually undergoing surgery where Dr. Ambijit will be operating on his eye. It will take about 30 to 45 minutes for the surgery to be through, after which he will be transferred to the recovery room.
So, I have taken a 7 mm mark. This is a caliper. So I will mark it from here till here. Similarly, on this end, from here till here. So now, I'm going to attach these muscles at these 2 ends. This is the latest approach, where every one incision, I'll be tackling 2 muscles.
That's the side muscle.
This is the side muscle, outer muscle.
If the muscle is pulling too tightly on the eye, then the muscle attachment is moved and reattached to the eye in a different position. To strengthen a weak muscle, a section is moved and then reattached to the eye so it will pull tighter.
You're done? Thank you.
This is an outpatient procedure, after which Lucky will be going home. Baby Lucky is literally lucky. He survived a difficult childbirth that left him suffering convulsions and slow development. There is no telling what is in store in future, but his mother is optimistic.
Matarajio yangu ni kuwa hiyo surgery yameenda na mimi nimesucceed na hiyo macho yake itakuwa sawa, atakuwa na shida. Na kama hakuwa pia anaona, na nadhani sasa atakuwa anaona vizuri sana. Na hatakuwa na shida. So natarajia hata kuandika ataanza kuandika.
Months later, Anne sends me these photographs of Lucky and the difference is visible. She says he no longer is sensitive to light. Marie Ambo reporting for Channel 1 News.
And welcome to Sports News. Mission FC were crowned winners of the Mahastla football tournament after defeating 26 All-Stars FC 2-0 in an entertaining final played Sunday at Muhuri Muchiri Grounds, Ruai Kasarani constituency in Nairobi.
Mission FC clinched the trophy after trouncing 26 All-Stars in a nail-biting final watched by a sizable crowd. After a scoreless first half, Charles Nasi broke the deadlock in the 63rd minute before adding a second 18 minutes to the final whistle to seal the victory for Mission FC. The tournament was organized and run by the teams that took part in the knockout tournament. The championship was organized to show up soccer standards in the world that has only 4 teams participating in the county and sub-county leagues.
Hapa Roy sport imekuwa iko chini kiasi. Juu currently kuna timu chache sana, kama timu ziko county league saizi zile ziko up the game, ni timu kama Roy Flames na Ilibiti au ndio kwa county, hizo zingine zote ziko sub county. So kupromote ile growth ya football hapa Roy, tulikuwa na hii tournament ni poa, tuite mafans pia wajue Roy imerudi tona, imerudi ball, imerudi ile style yake ya kitambo. Nikikana hii expectation pia azina tu expect such teams zinaweza fika finali. Kama sisi Roy Flames tulikuwa the best team in the tournament, lakini naona tulitolewa from the word go. Lakini pia hao wamefika finali ni 26 All Stars na Mission FC which inatoka Choka. So tuko proud sana wamefika finali.
Despite the efforts being made to tap the budding talent, lack of adequate sports infrastructure is bogging down development of sports, with youth leaders calling for the upgrading of the existing sports facilities.
Hali ya county iweze kusaidia vijana. Ukitazama uwanja huu si nzuri, haiko katika hali nzuri. Naomba bana governor na usimamizi wa NIMS, hata kama wanaweza jaribu kukarabati uwanja, waekee watu shades ili vijana wapate chance ya kuja kuji-entertain na kuji-keep busy, na wataepuka na mambo mengi ya uhalifu na mambo ya kidunia. Jaribu kufanya jambo fulani lakini hawana uwezo ya kutosha. So serikali ikaweza kuingilia kati na isaidie talanta mtaani, tutaweza kusonga mbele na tutaweza kutoa wachezaji wengi wenye ubunifu wa hali ya juu.
The tournament drew a total of 8 teams drawn from Dry Ward in Kasarani constituency.
Team Mercedes driver Valtteri Bottas secured his second win in the 2020 Formula One season, winning the Russian Grand Prix ahead of the Red Bulls' Max Verstappen and world champions Lewis Hamilton, who finished second and third respectively. The season takes a 2-week break, after which drivers will head to Germany for the Nürburgring Grand Prix.
It's lights out and away we go. So Hamilton gets away well, as does Max Verstappen this week, but Valtteri Bottas is already ahead of him, and Daniel Ricciardo slots into fourth, and Esteban Ocon has made up places from the start as well. It's a long run down towards turn 2, plenty of time to sort themselves out.
World champion Lewis Hamilton, who won pole position after yesterday's qualification, went into the race under investigation for making 2 practice starts from the wrong place in the pit lane on his reconnaissance laps to the grid around 35 minutes before the Grand Prix started. The world champion was handed 2 5-second penalties from stewards on lap 8, which he then served in the pit lane before his 17th lap pit stop.
Lewis Hamilton has a 5-second time penalty for a practice start violation. He's got a violation 1 and a violation 2 has now come up as well for another 5-second time penalty for Lewis Hamilton. I've never seen this before, where there are 2 practice start violations. So that should mean then 10 seconds added to Lewis Hamilton's race time.
He also had 2 further penalty points added to his license, pushing him just 2 more away from a race ban. The delay dropped the Englishman, who could have equaled Michael Schumacher's F1 wins record, to 11th, although he still salvaged a podium with that place. Max Verstappen dropped behind Bottas at the start from the front row and thereafter could not challenge Mercedes in his Red Bull and therefore finished second.
As Valtteri Bottas wins the Russian Grand Prix, he now starts to close the gap in the championship to his teammate. Max Verstappen finishes second for Red Bull and another super drive from him. And for Lewis Hamilton, third place. It's a podium, not the record equaling win that he would have hoped for when he started from pole. Bottas, Verstappen, Hamilton for the 6th time in 2020.
Sergio Perez finished a season best 4th for Racing Point, overtaking Daniel Ricciardo in the first stint with a fine move around the outside at turn 4. Ricciardo finished 5th on the road and stayed there despite having 5 seconds added to his race time.
World Marathon record holder Kipchoge Keino has endorsed Sports Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohamed's bid to lead the World Trade Organization's WTO. The world champion went on to say that in the 2 decades he has known Ambassador Amina as one who is a trailblazer who has broken all limits to be the most qualified politician for the role. Kipchoge will be defending his London Marathon crown on the 4th of October, with the event becoming the first major marathon to take place since the coronavirus was declared a global pandemic on March 11. The race was initially set for April 26th. That brings us to the end of sports news tonight on Family Matters. Schools reopening will be a discussion, and just having a look at the preparedness of parents, most importantly, because most of the teachers are saying they are ready to go back to school following that directive by the Teachers Service Commission to have them resume school tomorrow to prepare, or for preparedness ahead of the gradual opening of schools. So that will be our discussion, well, whether parents are discussed. Remember, early in July, the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, had said that parents should consider the 2020 education calendar lost. And now, with this reopening being speculated to be any time in October, the short time to get school fees by parents, how prepared are they? At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag tonight is Family Matters KBC. My guest tonight, Patrick Mwangi, the head teacher, State House Primary School, and Benjamin Zulu is a psychologist who will be helping us with our discussion. So see you on the other side of this break.
We begin tonight with a focus with the news that Nyeri, Kericho, Eldoret and Narok are the coldest tonight. Temperatures are standing at as low as 11 degrees Celsius, so do remember to keep warm. Good evening, my name is Yusuf Farah. You are right on time for Channel 1 weather updates now. Tonight, dry weather conditions continue to be experienced in most parts of our country. In the Central Highlands and the Western region, however, expect a rainfall tonight. Let us see now how we kick off things in the week. Tomorrow morning, sunny intervals from the northeastern region to the Lake Turkana region. Residents of Kisumu, as you go about your business in the morning, carry an umbrella with you because there is a chance of rain with sunny intervals. Residents of the coastal region expect sunny intervals with a little bit of cloudy conditions. In the afternoon, sunny intervals all the way from the northeastern region to the coastal region. So for residents of the coastal region, you can go about for a walk by the beach or even a swim because the weather is perfect for that. Now, Kisumu, Kitale, Kericho, Kakamega and its environs, carry an umbrella with you in the afternoon because there will be rainfall accompanied by thunderstorms. As far as the temperatures are concerned, Mandera starts off with highs of 38, lows of 25. Garissa highs of 36, lows of 23 rather, and here in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 15. I leave you with the international weather forecast. Many thanks once again for keeping it Channel 1. Do have yourselves a good night.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Family Matters. Tonight, schools reopening. Teachers have been asked to resume duty beginning the 28th of September 2020, which is tomorrow, the Monday. And of course, in July this year, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha had said that parents should consider the 2020 academic year lost. And now here we are, even as this Education Response Committee suggesting that schools should begin reopening in October. Remember, since March, when they were closed, a lot has been happening, including the burden this COVID-19 has had. Most of them, hundreds of thousands of Kenyans have lost their jobs, and of course, teachers and parents are part of these statistics. So we talk about preparedness of parents, teachers, and students themselves, financially, physically, psychologically, to resuming school. And next to me is Benjamin Zulu. It's nice to meet you after a long time. Since COVID we haven't met.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, talking about the psychological impact this COVID-19 has had and what we should expect. Is it the normal, or what new normal for learners should be, or what teachers should expect this time round? And not forgetting there have been guidelines provided that they will be now wearing masks, okay? And then we have Patrick Mwangi. Patrick Mwangi is the head teacher, State House Primary School. And I'm beginning my conversation with you. As a head teacher, are you prepared? Because tomorrow you'll be receiving the other teachers to your school.
Well, Purity, we start by saying that the journey to opening the school started back from March 13, when the first COVID case was identified in Kenya. And on 15th of March, the government of Kenya decided that the school should be closed. Since that time, parents, teachers have been out there anticipating what would come from the government. And as it is now, the fatigue that has been found amongst the students and what the World Health Organization have said in regard to the flattening of the curve, I think definitely then we can easily say that the school are well placed to reopen.
And the guidelines that were given by the Minister of Education last month on the new requirements, what new normal should be looking like for institutions, will be telling us that since March, when the schools were closed, Benjamin, learners have been at home and tired. They're saying, we are tired of staying at home. We want to go back to school. But from the psychological aspect of it, would you say they are ready to go back to school with the fact that the cases of COVID-19 are increasing and you don't know whether you'll go to school, the new normal wearing of mask? Would you say psychologically the learners are prepared to resume studies?
Security, any learner who was somewhere they are going with their life, they never stopped learning. They went on learning. The average student who depends on being spoon-fed by institutions and teachers, and who is drifting along with the wind and waiting to finish class 8 or Form 4, or waiting to finish a degree, that would be the bitterest, the one who is complaining, oh, we are tired of this, oh, we are tired of the other. Who are you blaming? Did we bring corona? Listen, let me tell the learners straight up that we can't tell what will happen tomorrow. You're like a driver on the road. You don't know where there will be pothole, corner, bump. You just have to keep your eyes in front and just what you meet ahead. No need to complain. Those who are going somewhere, those who are trying to build skills, went on with their books, kept on studying. They're saying, this year won't be wasted of my life. I'll be a year older after 2020.
Yeah, sure.
I can't say I waited, and you will still be older. And so to the learners, I want to tell you, just changing where you're learning from.
And the decision to reopen schools by the CS, because when early this year, in April, May, and even part of June, he was very adamant saying we cannot reopen schools before we at least get a vaccine or a cure for this disease. Would you say it's pressure that is coming from even the learners and teachers who are losing their livelihoods, that now he's working and rethinking of reopening schools in October?
I would say we are in an uncertain time. And the psychological effect is there on all of us. Even the government guys are also people. Sometimes I have to wait and see while still, remaining front saying we are bending. Right now we are here, we are here. So you will hear a lot of back and forth as we navigate this uncertain terrain. What I would encourage is we do not too much become hard on each other. Let us be flexible. So for me, what I would, because what if this thing went on the whole year? We will still have to adjust somehow, whether it involves repeating classes or it involves teaching double classes at the same time, or splitting the curricula that you would have done in 1 year, you do it in half the year. I don't know. But for me, I would say it's not good to focus on the words from the leaders only, but also to look at globally. If you are the leader, what would you do on a larger scale? So for me, the change is uncertain to the human animal. Change is very sometimes traumatizing or uncertainty, just not knowing what is next. We are not being insensitive to those who lost their job because of this. But again, I also want to ask you, those who are government and they were not stopped, the payment was not stopped. They continued earning. If I find that kind of person being beat, I'll tell them, my friend, you are the one whose view of life is wrong. You are given a long holiday to do other things, to develop yourself.
Yeah.
Even if you are not told how long it would be, each day you walk and you're not going to school, and you're still on a pay. You had time to grow some chicken, develop some skills, do some study. Your life was not stopped, just the environment that was changed. So although the change is uncertain, I'm saying this, nobody has complete control of it. I advocate flexibility.
Flexibility. Mwangi, on the flexibility, have all your teachers confirmed that they will be coming to school tomorrow, and the guidelines that were given by the Ministry of Education, especially on the social distancing aspect of it, maybe you can tell us how far are you in implementing that?
Before I get to the preparedness of the teachers, it's very important to note that the government has an obligation from the constitutional point of view. Article 43, it states very clearly that it has a mandate to be in charge of the academics or the learning in Kenya. If you go to Article 53 again, it talks of the responsibility of the government and also the parent. So there is no way the government will not look into a way that we are going to get back to school. And when we get back to school, the parent is also obligated by the same constitution that you have functions and roles that they are supposed to meet so that learning can be smooth. And if you look also at what we call MDG, Millennium Development Goals, number 4, talk of the sustainability of the education, and that role is held by the government. And you see the government has really tried to bring into the digital learning and also remote learning into the areas where the learning has not been able to be. As my good psychologist has said, it is upon every one of us to make it happen that all the children get back to school. As for the teachers' preparedness, teachers have always been prepared to be in school. As you know, there is no one time that a teacher is supposed to be out of the class when the learners are there. It is only that the learners were given a break when COVID came in. But as soon as they are called by the employer, they are readily able to be summoned. And they have been interacting with the employer, though not in a physical way, through online and other systems, such that the teachers can when called, will not delay into returning to work.
And ensuring the safety of learners during this time, because COVID-19 is still, the cases are still being reported in the country, and some parents would be asking themselves, how sure am I of my child's safety? There were guidelines that were put in place by the Ministry of Education in terms of social distancing, ensuring every child has a mask, and all those sporting activities, the communication strategy in case of an outbreak. You know, what sort of preparations do you have as a school?
One good thing that has happened is that the commission calling teachers back in good time before the learners are there, they would be able to put through the post survey of what is required before the school actually reopens. You see, by teachers being in school, they will be able to form committees that would be able to help the children when they come back to know what they are exactly expected to do. There are some things like psycho support which require to be done in school. Since these children have been away and they have learned more than what was supposed to be learned in school. So the teachers will sit and make preparation so that as they come, they will find, the learners will find teachers who are ready to welcome them back. There are some other learners who have also undergone some and we can say unprofessional or some other social things which require to be taken off from them emotionally so that they can prepare for the actual learning. That is why it is very important for the teachers to be early enough. There are other things you see like distancing. It is the teachers who will sit in committees and decide on how it will be done before the actual opening is
before
done.
the actual opening. And you tell us some of the expectations you have for the parents, even as the learners prepare to come back to school. But the Benjamin, a time ago, there was a time the association, the Private Schools Association, had indicated that about 120 private schools had been shut down because they could not sustain the schools owing to this financial burden occasioned by the COVID-19. You are supporting the reopening of schools, but what happens to these learners? Do you think this exercise is going to be smooth, especially for learners in those specific schools?
It won't be smooth.
Yeah.
At this time, Purity, nothing is smooth. You know, those who had fallen into inertia and lost their momentum, to jolt themselves back to the learning momentum and movement again, will be the same hardship there is when you had stopped your car and you have to lift it again. We all know from the basic laws of science that it's easier to maintain movement than to initiate movement. So those who had stopped moving mentally and kind of, you know, it will be hard. So for me, let's not look for ease. Let's not look for smoothness. Let's not look for just an easy transition. Rather, let us say, what can we do to get back on track? You know, the kind of thing, for me, if you ask me, the learner who was serious about their life, and those are the people who make change in our generation. The only thing they were hoping is that the exam will be administered. Those people are already learning. They can't wait to stretch to the next level, move to the next level. Anybody who let up, and just, even if you take them to school, they're still the type that you have to push. So for me, I'm saying, it's personal initiative that will change everything here. Let's not look for ease. Let's not look for comfort. Rather, let us say, these times are uncertain all over the world.
Let me stay with you, Benjamin. Reopening of schools again. There's some parents who are of the view that we are exposing our children to this killer disease. You know, how do you convince them that it's okay to reopen schools and they will be safe?
We can see where the decision was based on numbers. What has changed so far, where we are. It's about weighing. For me, if I was a parent or if I was talking to parents, I would tell them, let's also remember that we are not minimizing corona, but we have never been in a completely safe environment. Corona is infectious. We can't compare it to the flu and other things that kids can, you know, contract. But if we put the measures of masks, the sanitizers, and then with the current, you can say, I'll give my kid and observe what happens. if things are we hope we find the right leadership. And in many places, parents can always withdraw their particular kid in case you feel that their health is more at risk, So for me, it's not the fear we are supposed to give into, but practicality. Measure, where did this issue come from? Is it, reasonable? Am I still having control and say over what is happening? So for me, it's not so much, because if you hold back, you might hold back for a year, for more, and the kid falls out of step with many others.
And for you, Mwangi, with the knowledge that you've obtained about this virus, what should you do, or what is your level of preparedness as an institution in case there is an outbreak? Because it's uncertain. No one knows about this virus. It could be, the numbers could be going down, because today the Kenya Medical Association said we should not relax because Kenya is reporting low number of cases of COVID-19. We are also testing lesser samples of this virus. So what came to your mind? What is coming to your mind when you hear the medics saying, raising a concern that, hey, let's not assume that the numbers are going down? And again, in case there is an outbreak, God forbid, what sort of preparedness in responding to this disease have you put in place as a school? Or should the Ministry of Education put in place in all schools?
Purity, God forbid for it to come again. What is it that the WHO has said? Simple instruction: we wash our hands regularly as runners, we keep distance, put on a mask, and sanitize. Those 4 basic principles are the utmost solution to the problem that is existing. As we are regarding to WHO reference in the way of managing COVID, and we have seen, as it is, the curve is flattening. If we go back to school, that is the message, that is the gospel. Let the children keep distance. Let them wash their hands regularly with clean water. Put on a mask and social distance. And that way, we can see we'll get back to the right track, and this country will be just like.
And what you've said, will it apply in schools or students, pupils in your school, looking forward to coming back to school? What should they expect? What is the change? What is the new normal for them as they come back to school?
While we have agreed that all the teachers would be back to school, I would assume that whatever is going to happen to my school will happen to all the other schools. That we shall have some points where the children can clean their hands, wash their hands. All the children will be provided with a mask so that there will be no that contamination of direct inflow and keeping distance. If we all do that in all the schools, definitely we are going to overcome the COVID-19 challenge.
All right. Zulu, during this COVID-19, the reports have been coming out on the number of Kenyans that have lost their livelihoods and their jobs from COVID-19. And of course, most of these are parents. Their parents. So when it was announced that this academic year, maybe schools could be opened in January, most of them relaxed. Yeah. And now they are being told we could be reopening next month. There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of rush, especially preparedness for parents, getting school fees. So how will this pan out?
As a psychologist or as a life coach, the general, if I was to talk to a parent who was having a child and they're hearing this way, that way, is to tell them that, remember, it's not the school that will finally receive this child, it's you. And you should not let up thinking, oh, they're not going back now. Okay, let me, it's to say, okay, learning must still go on.
The mistake has already been done. The school fees was used because they lost their jobs and therefore they couldn't continue keeping this, and used all their savings. Some people, even as we speak, they are up country. They couldn't sustain themselves in town. So, what is going to happen to these parents, and how well should they be understood or handled?
For me, we must still be flexible. I don't think the schools will be assuming that we cannot tell what happened. I think a parent who is determined can still negotiate with school and do what they can do in their particular circumstances. And sometimes you might have to change schools when your financial status changes too much. Once you realize that things ahead don't look the same way, you can't continue incurring the same bills you were incurring. Just the way people have changed how they live or the houses they live in, sometimes you might have also to adjust schools. So it's not just that particular school talking to them and maybe staggering your payment, but also the same way sometimes looking for a school that maybe it is now the one that you can sustain or afford, or looking for other ways to compensate. I remember, Purity, you said that it may sound radical, but it works. If you cannot control the change, try to see which opportunities the change has brought. Negative self-pity, negative attitude, self-pity, sinking depression. Nobody has ever won with that attitude in the world, in this world. And this world, we must remember this, it will be a struggle, one way or another. Even before COVID, life was not easy. We are not minimizing the effect of COVID. People lose their job, they feel very destabilized, but we want to tell you that you are not finished. If you look up, you still find another opportunity. The skills you learned in that other, it's about adjusting and flexing, and I hope one of these days we'll be able to discuss, especially the industries that are being attacked the most, affected the most, like the art, performance, public performance, or comedy, or music, or people who are depending on gatherings and events. Those people are the first ones to be shut out because of social tourism, you know. But do you know, I also meet many in that industry who told me, you know what, this is the time I discovered myself. This time I knew actually, now I can follow where my heart leads me. So I'm realigning my life. Is to say, instead of looking at what has happened wrong, let's also see what opportunity has this one represented. Maybe there's a time to remember, if you lose job today and you're in hunger tomorrow, it also tells you were not saving, you are not planning for, you did not have a plan B. And I always tell people, whether you are, however much you're paid, if you're living on your salary, you're living beyond your means, and you are dependent on another person. This could also be the time to evaluate how we manage our money, whether it's little or it is much. The people believe that they're given more money, more salary, their life will improve. And that's a very mistaken belief. Your life improves according to how you manage what you're getting.
Okay, a discussion for another day. But you see, the mistake has already been done. Observing these guidelines that have been provided for, it comes with a lot of financial obligations. Does it mean that even the fee structure for the parents will change? Because most of them are scared that even as schools look forward to following these guidelines, ensuring the social distancing, and most importantly, their students are their learners are washing their hands regularly, you know, is there some sort of financial burden on parents?
Purity, along what you have asked, if you look at the ideal situation in a school, there has always been water. For example, water is a common item in an institution. So what we are trying to say is that there should be more points where these learners can access water from. So it may not necessarily have to be inclusive so much financially. That has not been there before. The only thing we are saying is that now we have to be, it is a must. It is a prerequisite for any learning institution to have a source of flow of water, a mask for all the learners, which has not been spelled from which direction it can come from. The government can provide, which it has willing to do that. So what we are saying is that those small things, and Benjamin has said it, it is not coming out of the normal. It is still the very, very normal thing. Because you see, like, when this COVID came, and when everybody did not have any much information about it, we thought maybe from the low-income homes, that is where it will be more evident. But as it has proved, it is not the case. So it's not necessarily that this is related to any way more with the way we have or we get our income. Is about our behavior. So we can have little, but if we are optimistic to change according to what WHO has given as condition, then we'll still move and everything will be in the right hand. Yes.
Benjamin, let's agree that with this COVID-19 that people lost their jobs, and yeah, the mistake happened. Most of Kenyans live from hand to mouth, so there were no savings. And even the school fees were used, you know, because parents thought that it's not this year. Schools are not reopening, at least not this year. So there's that parent who is in a dilemma that now, what happens if it's in October? What do I do? You know, maybe you can speak. There's a lot of distress that is coming with this reopening of schools, as much as teachers are saying we are ready, and parents and learners are saying we are also ready because they're tired of staying home. The parent, yes.
You see, Purity, I cannot prescribe a miracle and say you should perform some magic. But
that's the reality.
Yes. What I can tell you is not, because I'm not speaking, if I was speaking with one parent, I can explore them from where they sit. But I tell you the truth. Every parent who has a child by this point, they have encountered similar circumstances before. May not have been to the same degree, but they can tell you a time when the wind blew from the wrong direction and left me unstable. But the way I faced the situation with courage, I found a way out. If they approach it, because one thing I tell people, if you sink in self-pity and especially complaining, and complaining, why are they? The moment you adapt that, you become on the receiving end. You fall out of step with the flow of events. So for me, I like what Mwalimu has used, optimism. Saying, okay, all right, so that is what is happening. Let me see what I can do. Some of these people, actually, if you approach Mwalimu like this and say, this is what I can get now, if you give me this kind of, and I'll keep in touch with you, Mwalimu, this is what I'll be doing. This thing had happened. If you come with what the managers of school, the head teachers are looking at is not just your financial situation currently, but how much committed you are. Remember, Purity, wherever you had gotten that money from, even if circumstances have changed, you are still alive. You can still work elsewhere.
Okay.
There's no point of us standing and say, okay, we know now you are finished. You sit there and die. We can't prescribe that. We must tell them, shake yourself somehow and see what you can do. Because again, you can't keep the kid at home.
As the Minister of Education, Patrick communicated with you on how especially this curriculum is going to be, because there's also a lot of uncertainty in terms of if October, if the reopening is in October, then it means there is already an academic year or term that is lost, and there's also the issue of candidates, whether they are sitting for the exams right now. Maybe you can tell us what you've heard or received from the Minister of Education.
Purity. Most of the people handling the curriculum in this country are professionals. We know very well at what point that we left the syllabus coverage then because of COVID. Or what we are saying is that if we change the term dates and we are given the time, or what we'll do, we'll just adjust from point where we were, and those children will get all the content that they are required to cover before they do the exam. At what time will be decided. So for the teachers, because they are well set and they understand what they are supposed to do, while we are given the time limit of when the term will end, I'm telling you and all the parents in this country, let them know that the teachers would do exactly what they are expected to do within that time framework.
And there are already suggestions that it should be, the term should be covered between October and November. You know, we expect a crash program. If that happens, then we expect a crash program for learners. How do they adjust to this?
And as I said, the government did not take away books or take away the permission to be.
But there are people who, let's say, live in places where, like for example, I was having a conversation with people living in informal settlements, and you don't have any opportunity to learn because you're using the same room with your parents, and therefore you cannot wake up at
Are you
night.
locked there the whole day? They were at home during the day.
Not really.
Purity, don't sympathize with laziness in the name of need.
I'm sorry.
That's not needy.
I'm sorry.
That's laziness. I grew up in such an atmosphere myself. There were no rooms, no study tables, no nothing. Let me tell you the truth. A person who wants something, they will do it.
Okay.
They will do it. I do not tolerate, we couldn't study, circumstances like this. And I just have my, understand. Life will never understand you. You got to somehow push ahead. These kids had a lot of time. They could help with the chores here and there. When you're at home, you can just, but again, you can, in fact, I tell them, if you just study 3 hours a day, just 3, intense learning for 3 hours, you'll be ahead.
Let me challenge you again. There are places where girl child education is not embraced. And therefore, as a girl, if you are at home, then, yeah, chores, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And again, you cannot learn. So most of these people learn in school. When you come home, you will be serving even your brothers who you're in the same class or same school with. What
Are you serving them the whole day?
Not the whole day, but you're doing this and doing that. So you'll not have the same time, you know, the same opportunity with your counterparts. You know, what happens to such a group of people? I'm still sympathizing.
There's no home I know that kids are busy 7 to 7. You'll be busy for some hours, and if you want to study, you still create yourself. And I tell you the truth, I know many people who, the environment you're describing, I came from that.
Okay.
Lucky for you, I'm not an outsider. A person who wants to study will still find 1 hour, 2 hours in between whatever is being done. They will negotiate. They'll still find time to read on their own. What we are lacking among our learners is self-drive.
Self-drive. Okay. We are winding up. Patrick, as learners look forward to resuming school, and as parents look forward to preparing their learners to come to school, maybe you can speak to them and let them know what do you expect of them as parents and as learners during this time of COVID.
Well, from my point of view is that learners are actually fatigued to be away from their teachers. They are willing and ready willing more than yesterday to get back to school. For the parents, the school is still the same. The only thing that has changed is the scenario due to COVID. The school is the same, the teachers are the very ones. So there is nothing which have come in to break between the teachers and the learners and the parent. We have all experienced, and that's why we are talking about having the new normal. It is only readjusting to the new situation, but learning will still continue.
Learning will still continue, and nothing will have changed. Let me also ask you in a minute, there will be a COVID-19 conference tomorrow, and of course much of the conversations will be about the reopening of the economy and how the new normal for this country should look like. As a teacher and head teacher in that matter, do you have any expectations?
Well, I would expect the reopening of the other sectors, because education cannot stand in isolation. So I'm imagining that positive energy will be put, or synergy will be put, so that as we open up the school, every other sector will open up, and also we shall be able to maintain the WHO standards, because we belong to the part of this world.
How about you, Benjamin? The COVID-19, as a Kenyan, as a psychologist, what are some of the expectations? Because most Kenyans are anxious and asking the president to open the economy. It's hurting.
I would say, I can express opinions, but I won't make decisions. Okay, opinion also counts.
Yeah.
But for me is to say, I'm still in charge in my personal life. There are many, I have limitations. We have this lockdown, I can't go out past this time. But as I said, I believe my power ultimately becomes in ability to rearrange my life and keep something going on in the prevailing circumstances. I hope there will be lifting with measures. That's my best hope, that will go back to full throttle, that we can function, or tails are back. That's my hope. But again, I hope for the best, but also prepare for the worst.
Prepare for the worst, because anything can happen. You know, Kenyans have in many occasions prepared for the president waking up and saying, hey, we've reopened the economy, and then shock to them, curfew remains. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we'll be following you, Patrick, tomorrow. Teachers will be coming to school and see what kind of preparations you are doing.
Most welcome.
All right. Thank you, Benjamin. It's always great having you.
Most welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for also watching the show tonight. Schools reopening was our discussion, and of course just trying to see how prepared the parents and the learners are and what should go on even as we look at the new normal, even as the schools reopen and the school calendar, and a lot will be happening, especially this week and even as we enter October. So do tune in to KBC Channel 1 for also that program tomorrow. COVID-19 conference will be also coming, giving you the latest on what the head of state will be saying. My name is Purity Museo. Byron Abuli has been a sign language interpreter tonight. Do enjoy the rest of our programming and enjoy the rest of the week ahead.